Hi, I'm Allie Hamilton, and I'm so happy to welcome you to the Come As You Are podcast. Every week, we'll be talking about some aspect of healing, usually around childhood wounds and complicated familial relationships. The topics will always coincide with my personal essay of the week, and this will be a place where we can take a deep dive together. I'm so thrilled you've joined me and delighted for you to always come as you are. Hi there. Welcome to our talk. Today, the topic is The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. And that is a spoken word poem by Gil Scott-Heron. And the meaning, if you haven't, I did link it in the essay. It's really worth listening to if you are not familiar. But the meaning of that poem is you can't stay home. That, if you're talking about social change, there's a personal transformation that has to take place, and you've got to get active in the streets, in the local level. You have to, it's not going to come to you. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be something that you're going to, it's going to be packaged and presented to you on TV in between, commercials. You got to really think about critical thinking and really think about what kind of world you want to see, and then participate in affecting change, whatever it is that you believe in your heart, as far as the way you want people to be treated, what you think is right, what you think is fair, to be an active participant, and to put your body, your time, your energy, where your mouth is. It can't just be words. And it felt like a very fitting poem, idea, all of it, for this week. I am incredibly sad about where we are as a country, and about so many things that are happening right now. I am incredibly sad. I was writing about Venezuela and all of the things that had just happened. It's like you can't even, you go to sleep right now in this country, and you wake up and it's like, what new thing has happened? And so I was writing about that because there were so many people who, were like, Venezuelans are happy. So, if you have anything other than happiness for Venezuelans to say about what's happening, then you don't know any Venezuelans. It's like there's such a much bigger picture to be thinking about. I can barely even talk about this right now because my mind is so much with Renee Nicole Good and all of the things that I want to talk about that have to do with that. But I'll just touch on this Venezuela situation for a minute. And this is part of the whole flooding the zone. That's a Steve Bannon technique, right? Just flood the zone with so much stuff that people cannot keep up. And they're exhausted, and they're scared, and they're overwhelmed, and they're anxious, and they just can't pay attention anymore. It's just too many things. I refuse to allow that to happen. I am paying attention. I do care about this country, and I am not going to sleep. So, the bigger picture, and again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm a little bit of a history nerd. And when you are talking about a president waking up in a country and finding out that the president has just gone in and, taken the leader overnight without talking to Congress about it, it's alarming. And I am glad that people of Venezuela are happy. Full stop. This is not a, Maduro. He's not a good guy, not good for Venezuela, not a good person. No one's arguing that. The issue is what it's like a test run. That's the issue here. They're already instantly, almost the first thing that happened is you have Stephen Miller talking to Jake Tapper about Greenland next. Greenland, Denmark, NATO, these are our allies, right? And they're talking about, we need Greenland. That's what he was saying. We need Greenland, and no one is going to fight us militarily for Greenland. Talking about Colombia, talking about Cuba. These are not normal people, and this is not a normal time. And so that's why it's problematic, because the checks and balances are gone. To just be making these huge moves and not even talking to Congress. Oil executives know this is happening, but Congress doesn't. Then the oil executives find out about, and they're like, well, we can't even rebuild the infrastructure there for years. This is going to take years to fix, and so much money. And then it's like, well, the American taxpayers can pay for it. I'm sorry, really? But I think most of us want health care. I think most of us would much prefer that children are not hungry going to school. It's just, there's all of that. But it has more to do with all of the things that are happening here that are so far outside the norm, so far outside international law. So the Constitution of our country, just in tatters. It's like they just do not care about that. Threatening, our NATO allies. This is not normal. And I don't think the people who are supporting this understand. The Monroe Doctrine, by the way, that's where, there were people in the comments under some of these videos, like the Stephen Miller, Jake Tapper interview, where he was screeching at Jake Tapper about how we need Greenland next. People were saying, why is he talking about our hemisphere? That's the Monroe Doctrine, right? So James Monroe, President James Monroe. And in 1823, he, in his State of the Union address to Congress, it was his 7th State of the Union, he articulated the Monroe Doctrine, which was basically, at that time, the Spanish colonies were mostly independent. And he was saying to old world Europe, you know what? No more colonization of the Spanish colonies. You stay in your hemisphere and we'll stay in ours. And the Spanish colonies, with Latin America today and the Caribbean, those are in our hemisphere. And, you stay in your hemisphere, and we, in return, you don't try to colonize anymore in these Spanish colonies. And in return, we here in America, we won't get involved in European wars and internal affairs. We'll leave you alone and you leave us alone, that kind of thing. They did not name it the Monroe Doctrine. They didn't name it after him till 1850, but he articulated it in 1823. Later, Teddy Roosevelt, he added the Roosevelt Corollary, okay, which is, you're probably familiar with that famous quote of his, speak softly and carry a big stick, right? And his contribution, if that's what you want to call it, was to say, not only do we want Europe to stay out of Latin America and the Caribbean because they're in our backyard, they sort of, belong to us. We are going to police what happens in Latin America and the Caribbean, because what happens there affects us. And if anyone threatens them, we're going to start policing. We're going to start to get more involved in who's leading in those countries. We're going to start to kind of, influence what's happening in these countries, because that has an impact on us. So taking it a step further. That's why he was talking about hemispheres. And I mean, there's so many things. The authorized use of military force for a president, that happened after 9/11. That was Bush. That was after 9/11. And every president has used it since, to be, totally clear on that. Everyone. And what that is basically like, if there's a serious, real and present danger toward America, the president can act, without Congress. Like if it has to happen, then he's got like 48 hours where things can happen, and then Congress can be brought up to speed, and then within 60 days, Congress either has to like approve or not. But very, like, it was supposed to be like very serious threat, like imminent danger, and here we are. And that's what he's using to justify, like, oh, I had to do this. Like, okay. Anyway, that's the problem with all of this. It's like, and I've heard so many things floated about all of this. It's just the whole, well, it's the oil, right? Like, he wants the oil. There is no plan here for Venezuelans. This is not some like, oh, he cares about Venezuelans. I think we know that. We've seen what's going on with Venezuelans in our country who've been deported, without due process over the last year. We've seen boats getting shot out of the water. Like, I don't think anyone's really confused, or if they are, they won't be for long. But this is not some, oh gosh, my heart is, bleeding for Venezuelans and let's go in and save them and free them from this terrible man. That's not what's going on here. This is not a person who acts out of any kind of concern for other people. I think hopefully everyone's pretty clear on that by now. And if you are, I don't know. I don't know how to, I don't know how to help. But anyway, that's the issue. It's like Venezuela is just the test. It's the test run, and nobody's going to argue too hard because Venezuelans are happy by and large. They were not in a good situation with this person. So of course they go there first. They take this guy out. Then it's like, no one's going to object too hard, but what are you going to say when it's Greenland? Like, if you normalize these things, what are you going to say when it's a country that's not in that situation, when it's an ally? Like, yeah, got to get smarter here and understand there's a bigger picture. This is not just about Venezuela. It's about all the things that are getting normalized here. And we're getting used to things that we should never have gotten used to, ever. We had the, January 6th anniversary. And it's 5 years now. And I think most of you will remember where you were on January 6th. I just remember sinking down on the couch and watching what was happening, and my heart in my throat, just my heart racing. I never, ever thought I would see anything like that in my life. I really will never forget that. And, the noose hanging in our Capitol, people chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." These people storming the Capitol, like beating the Capitol Police with flagpoles, breaching the barriers, spraying them with bear spray, throwing fireworks, and, I mean, pepper spray canisters, and beating these people until they were bleeding, and hanging off of the buildings, breaking the windows, breaking through the doors, breaking into the building, defecating on the Senate floor, rubbing it on the walls, okay, running through the halls, hunting for Nancy Pelosi, like Mike Pence being raced from the building. That's what angry, violent rioters look like. And the fact and this president incited this. This is not, there's so much evidence that he absolutely told people to come to Washington. Come to Washington. It's going to be wild. He refused to accept the free and fair election. He refused to accept the results. He tried to get people to lie, to find votes that did not exist. That was the voter fraud. That man. Okay? I am just sick of it. I'm sick of it. As you can probably hear, I'm sick of the lies and I'm sick of the gaslighting. And part of, I have been practicing yoga we're coming up on 35 years. And sometimes people will say to me, I have I write essays every week. I've written 2 books. I'm working on a memoir. I have this podcast. I have a yoga website. And I have I've got places where I do my writing, like my personal essays and the podcast, Come As You Are. And then I have the yoga website, and I have different social media platforms where different things are happening. And I have platforms that are like mostly for the yoga, and then I have platforms that are mostly for the writing. And then sometimes there's like crossover. And sometimes people will say to me, like, why are you talking about this? Like, how is this part of yoga? Like, okay. First of all, just to be super clear for anyone who's confused about that, yoga, and you don't have to do yoga, but if you do, when you're wondering, it's a practice of peace, and it's not just about like your inner peace, right? I know I don't have to say this to anyone who's ever been practicing with me for any length of time, because those people that have been practicing with me for any length of time already know this. This is not confusing, okay? But sometimes people are, for example, I started a business page for my yoga site. And I'm talking about this for a reason, because some things have happened in the last few days that are just, I'm exhausted. Back in 2009. And I started blogging on that page at that time. And I was writing about, we blogged back in 2009. We don't blog anymore. Now we write personal essays. But back in 2009, we used to blog. And I would write about yoga philosophy for the Western mind. Just like, how do we apply this practice to our daily lives? How do I practice when my kids are, screaming in the back seat, or I've got like a work deadline, or, how do I find that? How do I find that, that calm in how do I find the eye of the storm? How do I find that ability to focus on one thing at a time, or to be more responsive and less reactive? I started writing about this stuff. I started writing about it, and really not using Sanskrit very much, just writing. And it was just kind of like the right thing at the right time. It took off. That page now has like 170,000 people on it, which is, for some business pages, that's not a lot. For other business, a lot. But it's a pretty big number of people. It used to be back in like 2009, 2010, 11, 12, you could have meaningful conversations. You could disagree about things and have respectful, meaningful conversation. And it's just not like that on that platform anymore. It just isn't. And it's really sad to see. But I used to nurture that page. I used to be on there all the time. And then, Facebook has completely changed. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg I'm no fan. I'm no fan of any tech billionaire who doesn't care about the people using the platforms, right? That, and none of these guys do. None of them care. Okay. Elon Musk doesn't care. None of these guys care. They care about money. The guy running this country does not care about any of us. That's the really sad part of this, is that his followers are so loyal, they would shoot you in the head. They do not care. Like he could not care less about any of us. Does not care. Just wants to make money. And that's the truth. His family has made billions of dollars since he took office again, which is also not what we do in this country. Anyone else who's ever been president has divested before they take office because of conflicts of interest. The emoluments clause, we don't do that because it sets you up for not putting the country first, right? Like somebody could pay you, and if you're making billions of dollars, you might do things that are not in the country's best interest. They're in your family's best interest. Anyway, so none of these people care about any of us, but if we're screaming at each other on the internet, then we're distracted and they can just make their billions. AI, everyone loves AI. So many people, they love it. It's great. It's terrible for the environment. These AI data centers, just go ahead and do a little research about what's happening to the communities around these centers. They're sick. They can't breathe. It's like not good. And there's no regulation going on. And not only with that, with the environmental stuff, because we've just thrown environmental protections out the window because this president thinks climate change is a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax, okay. And pulled us out of the Paris. We're not doing any of that anymore. I mean, I barely know what to say, honestly, at this point. But AI is terrible for the environment. Tremendous use of energy, water. I mean, truly, if you use it, if you're using like ChatGPT for your grocery list or something, or you're like, I want to write an email, but I don't really feel like thinking about it, so I'll just use it. Can you please, I'm asking you to just like do a little bit of research and see what's happening every time you do that. And also, like, probably not the best thing for your brain. How many phone numbers, for those of you who are like Gen X, how many phone numbers did you used to know by heart? And now you don't because it's stored in your phone. The problem with not regulating any of this stuff is people get hurt. And so you have all these deep fake videos. You have all these AI videos. People, seeing things and they think, this person is really saying this. There's a voiceover. There's, people are not, you got like grandma and grandpa on Facebook here and they see some video with some celebrity with a voiceover and the mouth is moving and it's close enough. And they're like, this person's terrible. Can you believe they said this? Or, this person is like, they said this product is really good. I can't tell you because I've lost, both parents over the last few years. I still have one parent. They prey on senior citizens, a lot of these companies. And this is what they do. They put out these AI videos and they pretend celebrities are endorsing products that they're not endorsing that, will give you that vitality that you used to have or will help your memory. And it works. They sign up and it's whatever it is. They're talking about like fixed income people, like older people in their 80s living on Social Security, signing up for some memory fix that they think somebody they admire has recommended and is promoting. And it's $92 a month. And it's like, you call to get somebody out of this subscription they've signed up for. And the first thing that they'll say to you when you say, hey, I'm the daughter of this person who signed up for this, and I know it's a scam, I need to cancel this subscription, please and thanks. Do you have power of attorney? That is the first thing. They know exactly what they're doing. They're not confused. Ask me how I know. You have no idea how many of these conversations I've been in. Anyway, not regulating this stuff, terrible idea. Plus, they're now taking pictures of young kids and making them naked. That's men are using Grok on Twitter, on X, and taking pictures of young girls and making them naked. Actual, real people, real kids, minors, and creating naked images of them. That is a thing that is happening. And I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore, about the ways that we are not protecting our children. Okay. So all that was going on. All that was on my mind. All that was, stuff that I was writing about. And news of Renee Nicole Good started coming out of Minneapolis. And I was so beside myself. I watched every video the day that it happened multiple times because I really wanted to understand what had happened to her. And I need to explain some things. And I really, really, really hope, people understand. I know most of the people that are going to listen to me or read my stuff are already on the same page. I know that. But just in case there's anyone listening who's maybe a little bit confused or, isn't really sure like what to think or whatever, I got into some really unbelievable. The reason I was talking about the business page is because, over the last few years, the whole environment on Facebook has changed. And I posted this essay this week about what happened. And I cannot explain to you the vitriol, the way that I have been attacked over the last 48 hours. Now, I don't care, okay? I am a woman. I've been writing on the internet since 2009. It's okay. Like, I am, this is a thing that happens when you are a woman and you write or you speak on the internet, you get attacked sometimes. And, it used to be very painful for me. Full transparency, it used to really do a number on my nervous system because I'm a human being. And it's never my intention. I mean, I don't want to upset anyone. That's not my intention. I don't want to I'm expressing what I think, how I feel, why I feel the way I feel. I think anyone who's writing is doing it in an effort to connect, right? To say, wow, these are really painful times we're living through right now, or really confusing, or, I never thought I would live through something like this and it hurts, And sometimes I'm writing about grief over my mother, Sometimes I'm writing about betrayal. Sometimes I'm writing about just what it's like to try to, how you can't manage other people's feelings. Sometimes I'm not writing about any current events at all. I'm writing about just trying to be a human being alive on this spinning planet in this vast universe, in one solar system, in this whole universe. But sometimes I am absolutely writing about what's happening. And certainly for the last year, I have very much been writing about that because these are the waters we're swimming in. And as a human being, but also as someone who's been practicing yoga for a long time, that's the job, is to face reality as it is and to figure out, vidya means clear seeing, right? To really try to see clearly, like what's happening from my perspective. What do I, for me, standing where I'm standing, living as much life as I've lived, what am I making of this time and what is occurring right now? What I know about history, what I know about the past, what I know about, myself as a human being, what I know about other people at this point in my life after 54 years on this planet. That's it, and no one has to read. No one has to read what I'm writing. No one has to listen to what I'm saying, right? It's like, you don't have to, you don't have to partake. It's like, it's move along, right? You don't have to, no one has to practice with me. People can do it or not. Like that's it. I'm just offering, I'm here and I'm offering this is my my perspective. Okay. We have had a broken immigration system in this country for decades. For decades. Anyone who understands what has been happening with our immigration system in this country will tell you that through both parties for years. It's not new. We're just not, we have not moved with the number of people, with the economy. We rely on our immigrant community. And we have always been, that's who we are here. That's been the bedrock of what makes this country so beautiful, is we're a melting pot. That was the whole idea. And okay. So we have needed to fix our immigration system for decades. It's not new. Some people who come to this country, they sail right in. I'm going to let you know that the people who usually sail right in are people from England, for example, like right in. Real easy time. White, speak English, right in the door. It's not like that for everybody. It's not like that for everybody. I need you to understand some things because it's, and please fact check me. I beg you. If you are at all like, well, I don't think, just please go just do it. Fact check me. I really, really would love for you to do that. It is not the same experience for all people from all different countries. For some people, trying to get their, green cards, their visas, their work stuff, it's like it takes years. And they're going to their legal immigration meetings. They're doing everything, quote unquote, the right way. And it's still taking a lot of time. Again, it's not there's not a one size fits all for this. And for other people, it's a lot faster. And for some people, it's, they've got the money. And for other people, they're working really hard to get the money. And for some people, one person in the family comes first. Like, there's not, it's not like there's no one formula for all of this. So before you start talking about it, talking your mouth off about it, just make sure you know what you're talking about. That's just like a rule in general. Like before you start talking about something, definitely educate yourself. I do that. I don't just start talking about things because I don't assume I go and educate myself. If I'm going to talk about something, I make sure I know what I'm talking about, to me, that's obvious. Okay. So there's that. What is happening right now in our country and what has been happening for the last, year, basically, is we have We have ICE agents. We have all these, we have ICE coming into all these different communities. And what this president said he was going to do was get rid of hardened criminals, undocumented, law-breaking, hardened criminals. That's what he said. I mean, he said a lot of crazy things, like they're eating the cats and they're eating the dogs in Springfield, Illinois, which was 1,000% a racist dog whistle that anyone with ears should have understood. But, here we are. He said a lot of things, but he said that thing over and over again. He also said there were people, coming over the border from insane asylums, because I'm not sure he understands people seek asylum, which is not, has nothing to do with insane asylums or Hannibal Lecter. But, again, whatever. I don't know. I can't dissect every crazy thing this person has said. I just don't have the time. No one, because this is a thing that you hear a lot. The left, these liberals, they don't care. They hate law and order. They just want criminals running all over the street and rapists and drugs. And no, that is garbage. Okay. No one wants that. No one wants that. I am a liberal-minded person. 100%. I believe all people should be treated with dignity and all people are equal. Everyone is deserving of safety and should be treated with dignity. I do not want hardened criminals or rapists or, drug runners, running through the streets of my city. I have children. I have myself. I don't want that. Why would I ever want that? I care about my community. I do not want that. And so, I think everyone could very honestly tell you, nobody wants that. No one wants that. That is not what's happening here. ICE is not going in and getting rid of hardened criminals. That is not what has been happening. What has been happening, I can tell you, aside from the things that you should already know, like all of the, in New York, right? Like all the guy overnight, 137 people just suddenly, no due process, just on planes being sent to Seacoast, right? Like nothing, no day in court. Due process is guaranteed by our Constitution for immigrants and United States citizens. Because if you're going to say somebody's a member of a gang and that's why they need to be deported, you got to prove it. You have to go to court and show, this is how I know that, because on this date at this time, this person committed this crime. And here's the proof, here's the evidence. And then the judge can say, bang, with the gavel, yes, deport, out. But that person deserves to have a day in court to say, that's not me. I'm a hairdresser. Yeah, I have tattoos, but they're my normal, they're just tattoos. I'm not, I'm not a part of a gang. That's not who I am. And I can show you, this is where I was on that day. I've never been a member of it. We've always done that. That's due process. That's an opportunity to defend yourself. Otherwise, the government can just say anyone's a criminal. Out. You're out. You're going to prison. You're out, because I said so. That's not how we do here. That's not what we do. So you already know about those things, right? You know about these deportations. You saw, I hope, these people, the human rights violations that happened to these men who were just taken in the middle of the night without due process, the way they were beaten, and some of them sexually assaulted over and over again, unable to speak to their families, is horrific. And some insane percentage, 67% or something, did not even have like a traffic violation. Nothing. So that's a huge travesty of justice. I don't know. I certainly hope you know about the ICE raid in Chicago on the building, the apartment building, where they had that big, crazy helicopter repelling, ICE agents repelling, and this big show they put on, like a, some kind of like, it was like a, and then they're taking United States citizens too, right? And kids in the middle of the night, zip tying them and putting them into the back of U-Hauls and just ransacking people's apartments. It's like no proof, nothing, no warrants, just banging through the doors, terrifying people. Some woman and her 7-year-old daughter, like knocking on the door of a neighbor, and the daughter's just bawling, like, please let us in, please let us in. This guy let them hide under his bed in his apartment. It's like, this is not normal. And this is not getting hardened criminals off the street. This is terrorizing people. And out here, where I live in Southern California, ICE vehicles circle my kids' high school regularly. Our middle schools, our elementary schools. You think there are hardened criminals at my kids' high school? Because I promise you there are not. You have good, hardworking people here. A lot of them they've been here for 30 years, 40 years. They've had their families here. They pay their taxes. They do not get benefits. There's a lot of lies and misinformation. They do not receive benefits. They pay taxes, no benefits. They don't get the ACA. They don't get that. They're not eligible. So they're feeding into the system. They're paying, but they are not getting those benefits. If they have a problem, they can go to the emergency room, which I certainly hope you support. Because when I travel, if I'm like in Europe or I'm in Mexico or whatever, and I have some problem, I can go to the emergency room and get seen. So I certainly hope you're not going to have a problem with that. It's madness here. But those are the people who are getting, rounded up. And I'm talking about like grandmas, grandpas, housekeepers, entrepreneurs, people that like started businesses here and do pay their taxes and have not broken any laws and have families here. Like we had somebody, they went and I'm being careful. I'm hesitating because I don't want to, I'm actually thinking about like, I need to protect my community. So I'm being careful about details. There's a raid at a car wash that I'd gone to for 15 years, and they took people I know who are good human beings. It's like, they're good people, good, hardworking people who would not hurt a fly. They're taking people from their legal immigration appointments. They show up on time, and they're met with these agents who just take them, and they're thrown into a detention center, and they were doing it the right way. So what has happened is people in communities around the country who care about their neighbors, when they see like ICE vehicles showing up, pulling up, they come out. They come out and they film. And they film because if they don't film, then nobody knows what happened to their family members. These guys, they pull up, they're masked, they're in unmarked vehicles, they're armed to the teeth. They don't they don't identify themselves, and they're thrown into the backs of unmarked vans. And it's like sometimes their family members don't know where, they just don't come home. They don't come home from work. And it's like, that's how the family finds out, oh God, they were taken. They're in a detention center somewhere, and they start trying to find out where, where's my dad? Where's my grandpa? Where's my mom? The kids in Los Angeles are scared to go to school because they're afraid that they might not see their parents when they come home. It's just like, so what's happening is you have a lot of people around the country who care about their communities. And when they see ICE vehicles pull up on their blocks, they do pull over and they film. I'm going to just give you an example to try to explain why it's so important that people are doing that. And that is 100% legal. That's a First Amendment right that every U.S. citizen has. You can film. You can legally observe an ICE raid in a public space. You can do it from the street. You can do it from your car. There's no problem with that. People are doing that because, for example, Kristi Noem got on TV after Renee Nicole Good was shot in the face 3 times. She got on television and she said, ICE agents were in Minneapolis today. They were snowed in and surrounded by angry rioters, and Renee Nicole Good was ramming them with her vehicle. And so an ICE agent shot her because he was afraid for his life and for the life of all the other ICE agents that she was ramming. Okay. If there had not been all those people filming, that's the story. That would have been the story. The stories that these people tell versus what is actually happening on the ground, 2 totally different things. It was 42 degrees in Minneapolis. No one was snowed in. There were no angry rioters. There were people on the block who lived there who heard whistles, because that's what they do. When ICE pulls up, people have whistles, so everybody knows, okay, they're here. Come on out, everybody. Get your phone, start filming. Nobody was snowed in. There were no angry rioters. She was not ramming her car into anyone. She was not impeding. She was not blocking anything. She was there observing. And what happened in the moments leading up to her murder is the ICE agent is circling her car. Her window is down. She had just had agents tell her to leave, which she had started to do. And then an ICE vehicle went whizzing by, so she stopped. This guy starts filming her car. The wife, Becca Good, gets out and is filming him filming their car, which is also what you do because you don't know what he's going to do. So she's filming him, filming their car. Renee says to him, she could not, please watch the video. She could not have been more polite, friendlier. I mean, it like broke my heart to see, she's like, hey dude, I'm not angry. I'm not angry with you. Like, he is filming, going down the side of the car. He goes to the back of the car. He's filming the license plate. The wife's being, she's giving him she's being a little like, giving him a little crap, I was like, I was with her, she's just like, what is this? Like, this is, she's like, our plate's going to be the same later. You know, we don't change our license plate every day. Like if you come talk to us later, it's going to be the same license plate. He's going around the other side of the car, and their dog is in the back seat. They're both relaxed. Even like Becca is relaxed. And as he comes around toward the front of the car, this other vehicle, ICE vehicle, pulls up, and Renee is like waving them to go ahead. You know, they don't go ahead. Guy jumps out and starts screaming at her to get out of her car and starts yanking on the door. The guy that had been filming plants himself in front of her car. She's not opening her door. She's scared, which I got to tell you, if that had been me, I would have been scared too. I absolutely would have been scared. The guy's scary that's screaming at her like that. And this is all, I'm saying this to you, this all happened like 3 seconds. She backs up her car, turns the wheel around completely, which you can see in the video, and tries to flee. Her wife says, "Drive, baby, drive." The guy shoots her. He shoots her once through the windshield. His feet, by the way, are clear of the front of her car. And then he shoots her 2 more times through her open driver window. Shoots her twice more and calls her I haven't figured out if I'm cursing, not cursing, an effing bitch. And all of these people, again, he planted himself to make it hard for her to leave because she's not listening. She's not complying. She's a non-compliant female. So he plants himself there, switches the phone. He's got his phone. People are saying body cam. I thought it was a body cam too at first, but if you look in the reflection of her car, it's his phone. He switches the phone into his other hand to pull out his gun. That's the that you see. It's not the car hitting. It's him moving his phone. And he's never off his feet. You can see there's a million other videos. You can see this man is never off his feet. You know, possibly like as she went by, I don't know. Maybe the car brushed his his side or something, but he was never off his feet. He's walking around after, calm as can be, zero concern for her, zero concern for her wife. They did not let medics come in. It's 6 minutes she's there bleeding out. There's a resident on the block begging, he's a physician, "Can I please go and administer? Can I check her pulse? Can I give her CPR?" No. He says, "I'm a physician. I don't care." These guys did not care. At no time were their lives at risk. He got angry. He was angry because, I'm sure he didn't like the fact that Renee's super relaxed, calling him dude. I'm not angry with you, dude. It's cool. Like smiling at him. The wife is giving him a little like, "Why don't you go get some lunch, big boy?" She's not worried about him really. She's a little bit like, I don't think he appreciated that. And then she's not opening the door, which I honestly, the way that other guy was yanking on her door and screaming at her like that, I think I would have done the same thing. I really do, especially if my wife was saying to me, drive, I think I would have. And I don't blame the wife. I think if I had been Becca, I would have said drive, because you're thinking to yourself, just get out of the danger. Just get out of here. They're not going to, what reasonable person, he's not in front. She's backed up. She's turned the wheel. She's clearly just trying to get away. They haven't broken any laws. He's not going to shoot her. What normal, reasonable person would do that? That would not happen. But he did 3 times and then called her an effing bitch. I don't, I'm not going to like debate. I saw all the videos over and over again, frame by frame, slow motion, from the front, from the back, from his footage, from his phone, from his, I don't, it's like I've seen it all multiple times, more times than I care to have seen it. And I am not confused. And what I am is tired of gaslighting. I'm super tired of gaslighting, beyond. So, and a normal president would have gotten, if he wanted to do it on Truth Social or whatever, he would have gotten on the airwaves and said, tragic situation in Minneapolis, extending my condolences to Renee Good's wife, her 3 children, her parents, her family, people of Minneapolis, mayor, governor, and we'll be investigating. We'll be investigating what happened. That's what a normal president would have done. There'll be an investigation. We'll figure out what went wrong. Whatever. But that's not what he does. Nope. Jumps on there, says, I saw the video. It's amazing. He's alive. She tried to run him over. She ran into him with her car. She's a domestic terrorist. Like, it's disgusting. And then all of his supporters just parrot the same crap and smear her and say, oh, she's like, she's part of this ICE watch, this extreme anti-ICE, extremist. No, it's not. It's an app, okay? I have it on my phone. It's not extreme anti whatever. It's called ICE block. It's like, it's nothing. It's for people that care about their neighbors and don't want to see like horrible things happen to them. It's so that you can be alerted if they're coming to your neighborhood. This is like, and in cities where this president hates the governor, right? States where the president the blue states. President hates blue states, where we've had the National Guard for no reason, for example. Yeah, most people have like whatever, ICE block or whatever on their phones so that if they show up in your neighborhood, you can help your neighbors. It does not make you some kind of anti-ICE, extremist propaganda, like whatever. And the people who are scared of these guys, it's not that they're falling for like, oh, Democrat, like liberal, mainstream media rhetoric. Heard a lot of that on the page. You're falling for that, and you're calling these guys the Gestapo, and you're the reason that she's dead. Like she bought into this crap, and that's why she was there filming this stuff. And if it wasn't for you, she'd be alive. No, sorry, but no, because we're going to be in reality, okay? And reality is really bad things have been happening. Lawless things. These guys are outside the law, but they've got the backing of this administration. And I'm sorry, I don't care. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it like it is. They are backed up by this administration, and Kristi Noem, Homeland Security, lying, just gets right on TV, lies. So, they're out there just terrorizing people, terrorizing communities, and they don't have to worry about it because no matter what happens, and like they're trying to keep the local Minnesota, the Minneapolis rather, investigators out of the investigation. And, by the way, the shooter, he left the scene. Ross just left right after. So what investigation is going to happen? Kash Patel, he's running this investigation. Oh, it's going to be great. I'm sure we're going to get really good information. Thank God all those people were filming. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? This is why people are there doing their civic duty. And it is their civic duty. And we do have still, at least for now, rights. We do have First Amendment rights to observe, to film, and to try to keep our neighbors safe. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Blocking traffic, yeah, you don't want to be doing that. If you are in a situation where these ICE agents start screaming at you to get out of your vehicle, yeah, you're supposed to comply. Yes, unfortunately. But I really understand in that moment being scared to death. I really do. And, backing up and turning and trying to get out, I completely understand having that reaction, because I think I would have had the same reaction. I think these guys would have scared the crap out of me, and they don't treat women well. They do not treat women well. You get out of that vehicle, they throw you to the ground. They're completely abusive, aggressive. It's like, and the things that I've heard, I mean, in this thread that and like people were saying, she should have stayed home. She should have minded her own business, and then she'd still be alive. So is this where we are in this country? That if you care about your neighbors, then you're taking your life into your own hands if you go film? If you hear ICE pull up on the block and you go out and film and somebody decides to shoot you in the head, it's on you because you should have stayed inside your house? Is that where we are? Is that what we want to do? That's the country we want to have? Each man for himself. Good luck. Hope you're okay. I know that you're being denied due process, but I'm not going to put myself on the line. Good luck. Sorry. Got to stay inside. Can't take a chance because, my government has decided that my First Amendment rights don't matter because if I come outside, these guys can shoot me in the head. And the supporters of this administration will defend the ICE agent and not me. You know how I know? Because it just happened in this thread that I've been in for the last 2 days. Most depressing thing of my life, just about. It was so depressing. I don't think I'll try to have a conversation there again anytime soon. It was that depressing. It was just, in a way, it's like I like to see what is happening because I, a lot of the time, really don't understand. I'm like, what are these? How can anyone look at this, right? There's all this video of what happened. So how can you see something and come away with such wildly different? How can you see January 6th? All that footage that we all saw, everyone knows it was an insurrection. Everyone knows it was an insurrection. And that's an angry mob. Those are angry, violent rioters. And the president incited an insurrection because he's a sore loser, did not want to accept the results of a free and fair election, tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power in a way we have never seen in the history of our government, and just couldn't take it, couldn't take the loss. Like, he cheats, doesn't even care, knew he did not win, and just didn't want to leave anyway, and would have cheated to get there, and has continued to lie to this day. And this is also what narcissists do. And I was writing about that too. It's like they'll punch you in the face and you're bleeding. Blood is pooling in your mouth. And they'll say to you, that's not blood in your mouth. It's rainbow Skittles. And you say that that's rainbow Skittles. And if you refuse to say it's rainbow Skittles, you're out. You're out. You accept their version of reality or you're radical left scum. They don't care about you anymore. And I'm telling you, the part that was so terrifying for me over the last couple of days, because here's the thing. There were some people in this thread who don't even follow the page. Just dudes that showed up and were screaming at me vile, just vile insults in all caps. I just blocked them instantly. I'm not doing that. There's no conversation that's happening there. So just blocked. And after a while, there were like enough of them that I said, something like a note, to the men who are showing up with like, whatever, like that are coming here to like curse or like post disgusting memes or whatever it is. I will block you faster than your mom can deliver breakfast to the basement. I'm from New York. Okay. I'm not going to take any crap. And that was it. Well, I started getting these comments like, oh, because you can't handle the truth, or like, you can't handle like different opinion in your echo chamber, whatever. I was like, no. I will have respectful conversations with anyone. You can have a different point of view and we can talk. I am blocking people who are showing up here screaming expletives at me or dropping memes that are like absolutely disgusting, or insulting other people, like hurling personal insults at other people, like you're too old to be a breeder, like stuff like that, which was happening to some people in the comments. Like, I'm not going to let some dude talk to another woman in my comment section like that. You're blocked. That's what's going to happen. Those are the people who are getting blocked. But for the people who just had like a difference of opinion, I spent way too much time trying to have conversation and push back calmly. I do not name call. I do not. I can be spicy. I am from New York. I will not take any crap, but I do not name call, and I don't, I won't do that. If I'm in an interaction with someone, even if they do it to me, which they did, I will not respond in kind. I don't do that. You're welcome to go check if you want to. But for my effort, pretty much all I got in response was vitriol, sarcasm, and name calling. One guy said to me, I would say you were brainwashed, but you'd have to have a brain for that. Like that kind of thing, One guy called me the R word. Like it just was really just like base level. Like, okay, this is pointless. There's nothing here. There's no I'm trying, right? Like I'm trying to say, well, wait a second. If you're saying that you care, there's a lot of this like Democrats don't care about law and order. And I'm like, wait, let's pause for a second here. You're supporting someone who's violating the Constitution every day. So explain this to me. You're saying that you care about law and order, but what do you actually mean? Because Congress controls the purse strings, for example, and this administration, this president has impounded funds that Congress appropriated. Like you don't care about that? Like, due process, like that doesn't matter to you. Like, there was a lot of like conversation about, there was just so much. It was very sad because for me, I don't know how we're going to fix things. I don't know how we're going to fix things if we have basically state-sanctioned murder at this point, and then the people who support this administration are defending it. Like they're not seeing they don't care because they've been taught not to care about like radical left, scum, because their feckless leader is posting that kind of stuff all the time. It's really sad and scary and depressing and so much less than what we deserve as a country. And some man, by the way, called the business line and left a message telling me I should not block people. If I wanted to block people who were rude, that was one thing. But I shouldn't block people. People are entitled to have their opinions. And If I did block people, like it was okay if I was blocking people who were, rude and like cursing at me, that was okay. But if I was blocking people for like having, other opinions, then I was shallow. He like called to leave that voicemail. I wasn't blocking people for having other opinions if they were speaking in a normal way, which most of them didn't. Most of them just, you can't get through. I tried too hard and too long. Some guy that I ended up blocking because he was just like hitting the entire thread over and over again with, it just, with insanity, then came and found me on another platform. It's like, they're not well, they're not well. And I don't know what we're going to do. I know it's like 30% of the people, and there are 70% of us who don't want this. That's really what I feel. But I don't know how we're going to heal and move forward and work together. When you have this kind of thing happening and we just can't even agree, like the sky is blue. There's video of all this stuff. And you've got these people in power. They have no ethics. They have no morals. They have no conscience. They have no empathy. And they're just encouraging like the worst, just the worst in the people who support them. It's just really sad to see. It's heartbreaking, for someone who does. I love my country. I love my country. This is not what I want for any of us. Even for the people who are not seeing yet how horrible this is for all of us. This was a rough week, and I'm very sad for, the people of Minneapolis right now. I'm obviously incredibly sad for Renee Nicole Good, for her wife, for her 3 children. She has a 15-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old son, and a 6-year-old son. And the 6-year-old, her older kids are from her first marriage. And then she had her 6-year-old from her second marriage. And the dad passed away in 2023. So now that little 6-year-old does not have his biological parents anymore. The guy, by the way, violated the DOJ protocol in the ICE training manual. He violated their own protocol for justified use of deadly force because he did not step out of the way. He had room and space to step out of. He did not need to plant himself in front. So he should not have been shooting into her moving vehicle. He should have stepped out of the way. He is the one who violated their own training manual and their own protocol. He got angry and, it was not a fearful thing that happened. It was an angry kill, evidenced by the expletives he called her 2 seconds after he took her life. Anyway, that's me done for now. I'm not sure what it is that we need to do differently, but I know that we can't go on like this. This is not working. And they're just not, it's just not working. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't exactly know what the right thing is for us to do, but I think we need to change gears here. These people have to go. This is not going to be okay for another 3 years. It's just not like, we're not going to have a country left here that we recognize. I mean, I already don't recognize this country. I can't believe the way people are treating each other, speaking to each other. I can't believe how many women were telling me she got what she deserved. Really? A man is shooting an unarmed woman in her vehicle and you're defending him and you're not realizing, like, it could be any of us. Okay. like, good luck. Like, I really genuinely hope it's not you. They don't care. They really don't. And I just hope people don't, I hope they don't have to find out the hard way, but it seems like some people do, which sucks. I guess the last thing I'll say is, like, as far as why I talk about these things, this is the whole point. The whole point of practicing is creating, if you are someone who does yoga, and again, like, there are people who are just listening to the podcast and read my stuff and, don't even know I have a yoga website. It's completely fine. But for the people who do practice with me, it's like, this is the point. The point is you're making this world within you like a more peaceful, loving, compassionate, less reactive place, so that you can then hopefully, right, make the world around you a more peaceful, compassionate, loving, less reactive place. That's the point. And I think sometimes people are like, I just want to, like, have my, like, kombucha and, like, talk about chaturanga and how to calm my nervous system. I don't want to hear about all that. It's like, well, you're with the wrong teacher. I don't know what to say. Like, that's not me. You could easily find that, but that's not me. For me, I've been practicing too long to just do that. I do that, but that's not it. And there's a whole philosophy that is about nonviolence and non-harming and, seeing clearly and speaking truthfully and, caring about people. So that. Okay. I love y'all. And, I hope you're hanging in there. If you're having a hard time and you're feeling, if this was a rough week, I totally understand. You know where to find me. It was a rough week for me too. It's really pretty heartbreaking, but I know we're going to get through it. I just don't know exactly what that looks like right now. And I know we need to shift gears. So that. All right. I'm sending you a lot of love, and please take care of yourself. Please be gentle with yourself. Do the things to calm your nervous system for sure. Whatever those things are, spend time with people who understand and who can be there and listen and cry with you if you need to cry, howl at the moon with you if that's what you feel like doing. And just be good to yourself, be gentle with yourself. And, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But I think it's probably time to take a page out of, Gil Scott Heron's book, which is what I started with, just to come full circle. It's like, this is not going to be handed. It's just internal work, and then figuring out, like, how to show up in a way that matters and that feels right and is aligned with your values and your beliefs. And, I don't know if it's time for us to, like, march on Washington peacefully or what we need to do, but something different. And I'll let you know what I come up with. You certainly don't have to, you don't have to agree or join me or anything like that, but I'll let you know what I come up with when I come up with it. And I'm sending you a lot of love, and I really, want you to hang in there. And you do know where to find me if you need support. Okay. Rest in peace to Renee Nicole Good, and lots of love to her family. Bye for now.